From indie hits to AAA giants, with a flood of standout titles hitting both early access and full release, which is why we've done the hard work for you and compiled the very best survival games to dive into today.
The core, the deep.
Abiotic Factor is a co-op survival game that drops you into a top-secret research facility gone horribly wrong. And it's a wild ride of science, chaos, and teamwork. Think Half-Life meets The Forest, as you and up to 5 friends play as stranded scientists, trying to escape an interdimensional disaster. The game's strength lies in how well it blends classic survival mechanics, scavenging, crafting, base building, with unpredictable anomalies, bizarre creatures, and portals to terrifying new realities. One moment you're barricading a lab against mutants, and the next you're venturing into a pocket dimension where physics no longer apply. It's tense, weird, and incredibly fun. While the combat and AI can feel janky at times, and some systems still need polish, the sheer variety of encounters and the personality baked into its retro-futuristic world keeps things engaging. If you love co-op survival with a dose of 90s sci-fi horror, Abiotic Factor is worth diving into. Dune Awakening is a survival MMO that nails the brutal essence of Arrakis. Funcom leans into the planet's harsh environment, blistering sun, deadly sandstorms, and hungry sandworms. You're always on the edge, scrambling for shade and water, rarely staying in one place for long. That dedication to authenticity is impressive, but it also limits base building and makes the world feel relentless and hostile. Combat lacks punch, and bugs pop up. But the alternate history story, set in a dune without Paul, adds a smart twist. Despite the grind, it's one of the most faithful takes on the Dune universe to date.
I knew I had to leave this place.
Project Zomboid is a game that not only asks how long you can survive for, but it asks how long you can stay sane while everything you love burns down around you. There's no endgame, no miracle cure, just you, a slow-burning apocalypse, and a creeping sense of dread that never really goes away. One bite is all it takes, and you won't even die right away, you'll just know. This one goes crazy with multiplayer and mod potential, which has made the game a bit of a cult hit. You're scavenging canned goods, boiling water, boarding up windows, and praying the noise you just heard wasn't a horde. You need to cook? Better not burn it. Got a cold? That could kill you. Forgot to close a curtain? Enjoyed the undead party. Everything in Zomboid has weight. The power shuts off, the water stops running, and the world quietly decays around you. It's about delaying the inevitable, and somehow, that's what makes it so addictive.
Jesus.
Icarus is a brutally unforgiving PvE survival game that leans hard into realism and high-stakes decision-making. Set on a terraformed planet gone wrong, you're dropped down from orbit to complete timed missions, gather resources, and escape before the clock runs out, or risk losing everything. Its unique hook is that progression doesn't just mean building better tools or bases, but surviving long enough to bring your knowledge and tech back to the orbital station. That persistent sense of risk makes every trip feel intense. The survival mechanics are grounded and often punishing. Oxygen, food, temperature, and wildlife constantly test your preparedness. While the grind can get repetitive and solo play is far less forgiving, Icarus shines in co-op, where teamwork becomes essential. The visuals are stunning, storms are genuinely terrifying, and when things go wrong,
What if your dream data science job?
and when things go wrong, and they often do, it's all part of the fun. If you crave challenge, Icarus doesn't hold your hand. Enshrouded blends survival, exploration, and action RPG elements into a world that feels both mysterious and dangerous. You're dropped into a decaying realm cloaked in a toxic mist, the shroud that slowly eats away at your health. Above ground, you're scavenging materials, building bases, and unlocking new tech, while below you're diving into ruins and dungeon crawling with enemies and secrets. What I love about this one is the satisfying combat and progression. You're customizing your playstyle with skill trees, spells, and crafted weapons, and it all feels responsive. The Shroud acts like a soft timer, pushing you to explore smart and retreat before things go sideways. It's got that Valheim vibe, but darker and more focused on moment-to-moment action. It's like your survival games with a side of mystery and a bit more bite. And Shrouded is the one. Alright, so this next one throws you headfirst into the Amazon and dares you to survive with zero hand-holding. Green Hell is a true jungle survival sim. One minute you're admiring the scenery, the next you're hallucinating from a parasite you picked up from drinking river water. The jungle is not the backdrop, it's the enemy. Every sound could be a predator, every plant could poison you, and even standing still can be fatal if you don't watch your vitals. You've got to manage your hunger and thirst, and you're checking your limbs for leeches, crafting splints for broken bones, and trying to stay sane as the isolation kicks in. The survival mechanics are deep, punishing, and weirdly addictive once you're in the zone. Play it solo for the full descent into madness, or bring your friends and argue about which berry kills you. Either way, Green Hell is raw, immersive, and absolutely not for the faint of heart.
Everything will be fine.
If you're planning to pick that one up, don't pay full price. This video is sponsored by Instant Gaming, where you can grab digital game keys for way less than the usual price. We're talking 90% off on Steam games. It's super fast, you pick up a game, get the code instantly, and you're downloading in minutes. I've been using them for years and saved a ridiculous amount. So if there's anything on your wish list, or something from this list that caught your eye, check out Instant Gaming through the link below. Helps the channel out and you save some cash. Win-win. A lot of you have asked for this one, and so let's talk about it. Palworld. This is basically what happens when someone looks at Pokemon and says, what if we made it into a survival base, gave it guns, and made the entire internet lose its mind? This game is chaotic in the best way possible. You're catching creatures, sure, but you're also making them work in factories, defend your base, and yes, use actual firearms. It's one of those games that thrives on sheer absurdity. Is it balanced? Not really. Does it make a lot of sense? Absolutely not. But it's hilarious. It's the kind of game where the ridiculousness is half the appeal. But sometimes, that's exactly what you want. And while people love to argue about whether it's just a Pokemon ripoff, the fact is, no other game lets you build an entire industrial empire off the backs of creatures quite like this. Getting started in Rust can be a bit of a pain. After waking up naked and clueless, you'll spend hours smashing rocks and chopping down trees like a Stone Age drone. And chances are that you'll end up a snack for wild animals, before you've had a chance to put a little base together. Once you're able to protect yourself though, Rust's appeal becomes more apparent. A gathering expedition is a lot more exciting, and there's a chance you're going to get into a shootout with packs of other players. The competition creates predators and prey, which can lead to highly imbalanced fights, but that makes it all the more satisfying when you start fighting back and winning. Rust isn't just a survival game, it's a lesson in trust issues. What I love about it is its sheer unpredictability. One moment you're scavenging scraps and peas, and the next, a naked guy with a spear is chasing you down. Maybe you've built up a fortress and are feeling pretty secure, until a group of raiders with explosives decides otherwise. It's chaos, but it's also what makes Rust so great. People sleep on how weirdly compelling Terraria's story is. You don't get cutscenes or long monologues, but the game does have a narrative, buried in the world itself. You land in this empty land, build a shack, then dig down, and suddenly it's Lovecraft. The bosses all have lore, there's a cursed jungle temple, a floating space cult, and a whole underworld run by a demon lord. Everything escalates. First you're fighting slimes with sticks, and then you're summoning eldritch horrors with cursed dolls and rocket launchers. The real hook is how much you shape the story. The NPCs move in because of what you build. Wildly underrated.
When HR calls you and tell you we are only looking for immediate joiners and
Receive means cannibals. You're part of an elite team, sent to rescue a billionaire who's gone missing on a remote island. But when your chopper crash lands, and almost your whole squad, apart from this one gormless but beloved guy called Calvin, are taken out. So your challenge becomes A, survive on this forested island, build a camp, grow blueberries, walk among the peaceful trees, and enjoy the soothing sounds of the river. 7 Days to Die is a survival horror with a ticking clock strapped to it. Every minute is prep time for the bloodbath waiting at the end of the week. Start off naked, confused, and probably bleeding. scrambling through abandoned houses for a can of chili and a rusty pipe. The early game is pure desperation. You're crafting crude weapons, slapping together a base out of rotten wood, and hoping it holds when the horde comes. And when it does, it really comes. Every 7th night, the undead descend like a tidal wave. And if you're not ready, they'll tear through your defenses like tissue paper. The game's loop is brilliant. Gather, build, upgrade, survive, repeat. There's a constant sense of pressure, of not quite being safe, even in daylight. It's janky, sure, and the graphics won't blow your mind, but a few survival games capture that mix of paranoia and preparation, quite like 7 Days to Die. It's easy to oversell the idea that No Man's Sky was a flop on release, and has only crawled its way back to respectability in the years of updates since. Closer to the truth would be to say that it did a great job of providing a certain kind of experience at launch, and sold loads in the process, and now it provides a more varied set of experiences. From the beginning to now, one of those experiences has been survival. If you want to play No Man's Sky on a set of hostile worlds, scrabbling to get enough resources to build shelter or to fuel the next desperate jump across the galaxy, it will now reward you with prettier and more varied planets, giant sandworms, mechs to pilot, pals to partner with, and much more. There are still better survival games on this list, but few of them can match No Man's Sky for scale and polish. Survival games don't come more alien than Subnautica, or less hospitable to human life. And though a sequel, Subnautica Below Zero, came out in 2023, it's still building upon a foundation set by the original. Stuck on an underwater planet, you must delve below the waves to find food and resources, eventually constructing your very own underwater base and submersible vehicles. 3D movement and a lack of oxygen make even the mundane act of gathering bits of scrap a tense adventure. Danger can come from any direction, and if you stay underwater for too long, you'll get a nasty reminder that you're the alien on this world. Vehicles, air pumps, and oxygen tanks allow you to stay under for longer, however, and the more familiar you become with the world, the more the ocean starts to become home.
As they did.
DayZ is a survival game in its rawest, most brutal form. It dumps you into a massive open world, armed with nothing but the clothes on your back and a prayer, and says good luck. The post-apocalyptic setting is crawling with zombies, but the real danger? Other players. Because nothing screams survival quite like looting a stranger's backpack and running for your life. Every choice in DayZ feels like a gamble. You sprint into a town and scavenge for supplies, knowing the noise might attract zombies, or worse, other survivors with itchy trigger fingers. Food, water, and medicine are always scarce, and just when you think you're doing alright, a random injury or a bad can of beans can ruin your day. Conan Exiles is basically what happens when you take Survivor and throw it into a blender with Game of Thrones, but with way more nudity, gladiatorial combat, and giant snakes. Set in the brutal world of Conan the Barbarian, you'll be surviving in the harsh desert and a few other deadly locales, battling everything from crocodiles to rival factions. And let's be real, who wouldn't want to build their own kingdom while wearing nothing but a loincloth and a sword? The game is all about resource gathering, crafting, and building, but it also offers ridiculous amounts of ways to die. Seriously, 1 minute you're chopping down trees and the next, a giant sand monster is eating your face. It's chaos, and it's amazing. But what really makes Conan Exiles stand out is the ability to tame and enslave enemies, which is as morally questionable as it sounds. You'll create your own little band of exiles, force them to work for you, and wonder if you've become the very thing you swore to destroy.
Exiles.
Stalker 2 was cooking for what feels like forever, and now that it's finally here, we've got a game that the fans of the original will love. This game is moody, brutal, and weirdly beautiful. You're dropped into the Chernobyl exclusion zone, a massive open world full of mutants, anomalies, and dudes who will absolutely shoot you for walking into the wrong shack. What sets it apart is how corrupted everything feels, and I'm not just talking about the enemies. The zone itself is the main character here. 1 minute it's calm and eerie, the next you're sprinting from a bloodsucker and getting zapped by an invisible electro-death vortex. It doesn't hold your hand either. You're scavenging, managing your gear, and constantly feeling one bullet away from total disaster. This game is definitely a good one for people who like survival horror and open world games, and definitely for fans of the Fallout and Metro series.
I need peaceful sleep, Rexa.
Not in my job.
Metro series.
Cruelty.
Minecraft might look like a kid's game on the surface, but survival mode can be downright ruthless if you're not paying attention. That first night, pure panic.